Okay, so now we're done with the doom and gloom. So now we know why we need succession planning and why it's so important. And so I love this quote. This idea that you can only lose something that you cling to. And let me put this in perspective of succession planning. What we just talked about, the aging out of the profession, all of the challenges that go into running an organization, and all of the challenges that go into talking about a succession plan. Those are all things that hinder our ability to get the best result from our succession planning efforts. So by clinging to that need to control and that need to make sure that we are doing it exactly the way it's always been done, and honestly, that idea of we're letting fear control our decision making, right? The fear of having somebody that isn't as committed as we are running our practice, or the fear of, talking about our own mortality, or, any of those things that come into play. It's really that seated fear. And so this quote from Buddha is saying, man, all those things you cling to, all those things that you are fearful of, and so you just don't let go, you're actually going to lose those, right? So your firm that might be worth $500,000 today because of all the work that you've done and built your entire client list, and it's an incredible organization, is only going to be worth $250,000 5 years from now because you just clung to it. Right? And the value is now 50% of what it would have been if you could have just said, hey, it's time for me to do some succession planning. And so that's why this quote for me has some meaning in terms of succession planning, because it's like, hey guys, let's talk about how we can let go of some of these things that feel like they're holding us back and open up this opportunity to really get a great benefit from having a succession plan in place that's not scary to talk about. It doesn't make us feel insecure, right? It's a really positive thing. So part of what we do as humans is hold on to what we've built. So we'll get into a little bit of a generational discussion further into the slides. But for any of you that are on this webcast that are baby boomers, your generation is what we call the builder generation. And the builder generation, the legacy generation, it means that you are committed to creating something valuable and that it lasts forever. Right? That is what drives you, that your generation, and this is stereotypical, so please don't assume that I'm just going to tell you this is exactly who you are and what you're about. I recognize that that's not the case. But in terms of a generation, if you wanted to label an entire generation, that is the firm owners who are looking at transitioning out of the profession. That's what they're all about, right? They have built these incredibly successful organizations and they want them to survive. And so if we know that, right, it's hard to let that go. It's hard to want to be like, oh, you know what? I spent my entire life building this organization and it's running really great, so I'm out. Which one of you is actually saying that? That's a hard thing to do, and it's human nature. There's nothing wrong with you. It's totally normal that that's how you feel. Because we believe, and it's deep, deep inside our souls, right? We believe that if we create something, that we are the only individual capable of maintaining the prosperity. And that's true for all of us. I mean, it's true for me when I create a slide deck, right? It's my baby. I can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to do a session about it. But if somebody said, hey, can I take your slide deck and go do this session over here because I know you're busy? Right? My soul just drops a little bit and says, no, that's my slide deck. And I have to really talk myself out of that and say, oh my gosh, spread the wealth, right? Like this is going to be even more successful because somebody else is sharing the same message in another venue and in another media. And this is great. This is great for the profession. And so I think it's human nature for us to do this. The other thing that can be a little scary, and the reason that we have such a hard time with succession planning, is that change is just flat out scary. Because our profession hasn't changed in a really long time, right? We're being forced to change now. And if you look at where we were 10 years ago compared to where we are now, compared to where we will be in 10 years, technology and AI and our client base is changing the way that we do what we do. And I think that's a really exciting thing, but it's also a really scary thing. And succession planning falls right into that, right? We're asking you to look forward and say, how am I going to prepare for all the things that I don't know are coming? Right? Succession just in and of itself is a scary, scary thing. So I think it's exciting, but it's also scary. So let's talk about how you actually are going to get this done. Hopefully everybody feels like we're not so gloomy and doomy, that this is something that we want to tackle, right? It's exciting. It's something to be done. So let's talk about management by sticky note. This is probably my favorite concept in the whole history of all concepts, and you can use it for anything. So management by sticky note is a way for us to start big and use sticky notes to capture our thoughts and ideas and then tackle it all down to a really small concept so that we have one thing to focus on. So let me talk to you about how you can do that. Start with sticky notes, and I totally invite you to do this. You'll have to set aside about an hour on your calendar, book it, block it off, do whatever you need to do. Take a whole stack of sticky notes, and I want you to write down everything that you feel like is a challenge to your ability to succession plan. You get one sticky note for every idea. So let's say succession planning for you, you just don't want to think about the future. Okay? Write future ? On a sticky note, stick it in the side. Write everything that is challenging to you about succession planning. Once you're done and you have all of those sticky notes laid out, right, and you can consider all of your experiences, everything that you've learned from the past, what you felt like when you became partner or when you went out on your own or when you became CFO, when you transitioned into that leadership role, what were the things you were feeling? Put all of those fears, all of those challenges, and get them on sticky notes. And once you have all of those laid out, you go through the sticky notes and you pull out the things that are the biggest challenge, the thing that is really like every time you think succession planning, that's what pops into your head. So when I said the word succession planning at the very beginning of this slide deck, whatever that first thought you had, that's your biggest challenge, right? And once you are able to identify it and visually see it, then you can start figuring out ways to let it go, right? So that's the biggest thing about today is if you can just identify one challenge for why you haven't put a succession plan in place, identify it, look at it, see it on paper, and then let it go. That's what I challenge you to do. And it's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy, right? And it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to say, Lindsay, there's no way I can let that go because it's 100% a reality. It's not in my head. It's actually true. I can't overcome it. I promise you that you can if you just tell yourself it's time to move forward and let it go. So some of the things that might end up on your sticky notes, and this is one of my favorite topics, is the next generation, right? So you see this visual here of people all on different devices, hanging out, making it look really fun to do work because it's super fun at work. And that's kind of intimidating. And I will be honest with you, I am technically a millennial, but I have oftentimes felt like I don't identify well because I don't leverage technology as well. I have to work for it. So it's been a great experience for me, but I feel like when I look at the younger generation and even my son's generation of, I don't even know how to do that stuff, and you're doing it in 20 seconds, something that takes me 2 hours. I have to figure that out, right? I have to do that. So these concerns that we have about the next generation are generally concerns that we actually have with our success. We're afraid that we won't be able to keep up. And that's a real fear. And I completely empathize with it because I have it too. Of when, we hire a new person and they come in and they're looking at my pivot tables in Excel, and they school me in about 5 minutes about how I could have saved probably 4 hours of work. I want to be excited by it, but I'm also intimidated by it because I feel like, oh my gosh, I've been wasting 4 hours of my life every month for the last 3 years. And here this person came and told me how to do it, and I could have just saved all that time. So maybe just take a step back and consider that part of your succession planning challenge is that you don't believe in the next generation because it's scary. It's scary what they're capable of. And be willing to have some conversations with those in your firm who are in those generations about how they see their future and how they see the future of your organization. It might really surprise you. I bet you they have some really, really cool ideas. So that's the touchy-feely part of succession planning, and you have to do it first. You have to get past this touchy-feely part because otherwise your succession planning won't be successful, right? It'll stop you in your tracks. You can gather all the data you want, but if you are not in love with the idea of doing a succession plan, it won't ever get done.